Hi, I'm so excited to introduce the concept that we're going to talk about next week in our next food lab. We're going to talk about soups. So the recipe that I have, and I'm going to read you a little paragraph, of course, from the cookbook that I've been using a lot here, The Mom's Guide to Meal Makeovers. All right, so this is the introduction to their soup chapter, and I'm just going to read you one little paragraph because they're going to talk about soups. What's great about soups and what's the problem about soups? At their best, soups and stews are swift, simple, and soothing, not to mention a complete source of everything you need in a meal: protein, complex carbohydrates, and healthy fats. But they can also be way too salty and high in saturated fat. If you do make your soup and stews from scratch, keep in mind that many of the broth products and bouillon cubes on the market are astoundingly high in sodium. As for the canned soups that busy moms often fall back on when there's barely enough time to grab the can opener, well, besides the salt issue, some of them also contain monosodium glutamate, which is MSG, chicken fat, and partially hydrogenated vegetable oils. Our best advice is to choose wisely. So let's talk about some of those things. I went to my pantry and I found some soup products. I only bought one of these. So here's one. For example, Progresso lentil soup, okay? You might think, oh, lentil soup, that's good, because you know from our class that lentils are high in protein. So if I look at the NFL, what's the first thing I look at? Of course, that is the serving size. What's the serving size here? So per one serving size is 1 cup. That's this much right here, okay? That would not be a very big bowl. In fact, that'd be a pretty small bowl. Sodium, 32%. Do you remember how we read these using the 5-20 rule? 5% or less is low, 20% or more is high. So if you get 32% of your daily need just from drinking the equivalent of 1 cup, yeah, that's not very good, really, because you're probably gonna have crackers with that, or you're gonna have bread, or you're gonna have something else throughout the day that also has sodium, right? Now, here's another thing. Here's one that I actually did buy, cream and mushroom soup. Not so much because I like cream and mushroom soup, but sometimes it makes a good base for casserole. And when I bought it, I looked at that right there, and it says heart healthy, and I thought, okay, that's gonna be lower sodium. And it actually does say 49% less sodium. I just saw that on the front of the can, picked it up, put it in my basket. I might have actually even glanced at the back. But here's the thing. What's the first thing you look at the nutrition facts label? Right, that's right, the serving size. It wasn't until I started filming this that I realized the serving size here is half of a cup, okay? Half of a cup. That's half of a cup right there. That's like nothing, okay? So the servings, it does have lower sodium, 18%, but that's for half of a cup. That's nothing. So it was a little bit of trickery, the way that they wrote that. I'm not really very impressed. Now, if you consume the whole container, it will have 43% of your daily needs of sodium. Way too much. That little paragraph that I read you also talked about the products that are broth and stock. So those are two different terms. They mean essentially the same thing. So this is Kroger's brand chicken broth. Okay, and you notice it has on the front picture, what does it have? It has onions and carrots and some green stuff and maybe some garlic, and that's usually the kind of thing that goes into chicken broth along with chicken parts, right? But even though this is 99% fat-free, it has per 1 cup 37% of your daily needs of sodium. Again, a lot. That's a lot. I think in my previous lab, I mentioned to you how I happen to like this product. It's called Better Than Bouillon. And the reason I like this product is not necessarily because it's low in sodium, because it's not. But what you do here is you make your own sodium stock. So the recipe is you use 1 teaspoon, I think it says. Dissolve 1 teaspoon per 8 ounces of water, okay? And if you do that, you'll get a sodium content of 30%. But if you only put in half of a teaspoon, what's your sodium content gonna be? Yeah, right, it's gonna be half of that. It's gonna be only 15%. Any place that you can reduce your sodium content is a good decision. Any place at all. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, it is so, so, so important that you work to reduce your sodium. That's why it's so important that you cook with real food. When you use a lot of convenience foods like this, even if maybe you're cooking the rest of the meal, but you grab a can of something like this, it can just be kind of a problem because of things like sodium content. And that's the biggest problem with canned foods, is the sodium content, okay? Now, I am going to tell you how to make your own broth. That's really kind of easy. I don't expect you to make your own broth though. Just know that. But I'm gonna tell you how to do it. It's so dang easy and then even funny. And guess what I got right there? You guessed it. My own chicken broth, and it's got no sodium in it. Okay, you wanna see?